In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo and his colleagues at Stanford University set out to study the psychological effects of perceived power, focusing on the struggle between prisoners and prison officers. The backdrop of the study was the heightened social attention to prisons and authority during the 1960s and 70s, particularly with civil unrest and questions about human rights. Zimbardo's team wanted to see whether the brutality often observed in real prisons was a result of the personalities of guards and prisoners, or whether it stemmed from the environment and roles themselves. To conduct the study, the basement of Stanford's psychology building was converted into a mock prison. 24 male college students who were psychologically screened and deemed stable were randomly assigned roles as either guards or prisoners. Prisoners were arrested at their homes by real police, fingerprinted, blindfolded, and brought to the mock prison where they were stripped, deloused, and issued uniforms and ID numbers. Guards, meanwhile, were given khaki uniforms, sunglasses to obscure their eyes, wooden batons, and the authority to enforce rules. The randomness of role assignment was meant to highlight the influence of situation over personality. What followed was a rapid and disturbing transformation. Within hours, guards began to assert dominance, devising arbitrary punishments and humiliations, while prisoners experienced loss of identity and autonomy. Verbal abuse, solitary confinement, and forced physical tasks became common. Prisoners quickly showed signs of stress, depression, and emotional breakdowns, while guards, who were initially hesitant, grew increasingly authoritarian and cruel. The interactions escalated beyond what researchers anticipated, blurring the lines between simulation and reality. Although the experiment was scheduled to run for 2 weeks, it was terminated after just 6 days due to the psychological damage participants were experiencing. One prisoner suffered an emotional breakdown and had to be released early, while others showed signs of extreme anxiety and passivity. A visiting psychologist, Christina Maslach, strongly criticized the inhumane conditions, prompting Zimbardo to end the study. The findings suggested that ordinary people could adopt abusive behaviors when placed in positions of unchecked power, and that environments of hierarchy and dehumanization could transform otherwise normal individuals into perpetrators or victims of cruelty. The Stanford Prison Experiment became one of the most famous and controversial studies in psychology. It profoundly influenced how people understand the impact of situational factors on behavior, authority, and obedience. However, it also raised major ethical concerns. Participants had not given fully informed consent, the study inflicted serious emotional harm, and Zimbardo himself became too immersed in the role of prison superintendent to intervene responsibly. Today, the experiment is both a cautionary tale for ethical standards in psychological research and a stark illustration of the corrupting influence of power and the vulnerability of human identity under oppressive systems. TNT Initiative, Our Race's Universal Hope, and the divine headquarters of the 144,000.